all manner of conflicts. You look at the continent of Africa, in Sudan, in Cameroon, in Amhara region, in Ethiopia, in Europe, in Ukraine, in Nagorno-Karabakh, and you go to the Pacific, you find the problem in Haiti. The world is convulsing, and the world is asking the question, how can we bring an end to this madness? And if you remember the immortal words of Mahatma Gandhi, he said, an eye for an eye will only make the world blind. And that is what we are doing to ourselves. And Mahatma was so clear by saying, there is no way to peace. Peace is the way. And one always hopes that those immortal words will be given practical meaning, but yet the history of the world is that we are quick to forget. And every time when we think we have appealed to reason and that men and women will sheath their swords and break their guns, we hear the sophistication, more guns and death and pain and suffering. And events such as this serve only to remind us that amidst the gloom, there must be glimmer. Amid the gloom and hopelessness, there must be men and women whose voices must remain alive, even if they are not heard at their purest tones. Many of us will remember that conflict is as old as human beings. That notwithstanding, the voices of reason have always been alive, even when the world was in conflict. Whether it was the wars that were characterized as world wars or the civil wars or the fratricidal wars that we see in different countries, the message has always been one, that all wars end with peace, which means that peace is the ideal that all of us have a divine duty to pursue, and to pursue without ever doubting that ultimately good will prevail over evil. So those of you who are present here must, in the nature of things, ask themselves, what is it that we can do and what have our predecessors in time done over the years? We are, in a manner of speaking, also reminding ourselves of some of the immortal words of the men whom we celebrate. I so very much remember the words of Martin Luther King Jr. At one time when he was in the midst of the struggle for equality in the United States, he delivered a speech entitled, "Sometimes I Feel Discouraged." And he said sometimes he felt discouraged when on a daily basis he's under the threat of war, on a daily basis is criticized by people who think that by preaching peace he was doing the right thing. But then he said that the Spirit sometimes lifts him up, even when he's in that state of depression. And you can remember his many words of passion during the Vietnam War, when he was reminding America that you cannot, in the nature of things, control the world through intimidation. So this occasion reminds us that we must leave the spirit of the likes of Mahatma Gandhi. You'll also remember the words of Nelson Mandela when he, after being in jail for 27 years, came out and said that we must learn to live with one another. We may not like our jailers, but the peace that we seek is only achievable if we have selective memories. And I think it is Desmond PLO Tutu of South Africa who said, there is no future without forgiveness. But when you choose to be a warrior for peace and justice, you must always remember that violence and conflict has also become an industry, and that there are those who will engage in conflict in order to ensure that their industry remains alive. And this generation and generations yet to be born must be reminded at all times that the continent of Africa, the continent of Asia, of Europe or America or the Caribbean or Latin America will only thrive and realize their potential in all human endeavors when we have peace. the peace which the Bible says, the peace that surpasses all understanding. And it is men and women who must work at that peace. So on this occasion, my plea to you, the younger generation, is to remember that war and conflict has always occasioned pain. Right now in Sudan, young men and women have lost opportunities. Old men and women are dislocated from their homes. They are refugees in lands which they are unfamiliar with. Health systems have collapsed. Education systems have collapsed. In Cameroon, in the southern Cameroon or Ambazonia, young men and women have not gone to school for many years. In the Sahel, in northern Mali, that is the situation. In Haiti, because of the conflict and the gangs, people are not going to school. In Nagorno-Karabakh, in Armenia, people are not going to school. In Ukraine, all that had been built over the years is being destroyed. And one can go on and on. And sometimes when we say that we are created in the image of God, one wonders, are we truly created in the image of God, that we may visit pain upon others, that we may dehumanize fellow human beings? But yet there is a sense in which the desire and the quest for peace must never die. And you young men and women who are gathered here virtually and otherwise, today is your day to introspect, to take a solemn vow and remind ourselves that we have work to do. It is Martin Niemöller who during the World War II said that we cannot afford the luxury of doing nothing in the face of adversity, because when they came for the Jews, I did nothing because I was not a Jew. When they came for the trade unionists, I did nothing because I was not a trade unionist. When they came for the communists, I did nothing because I was not a communist. And when they came for me, there was nobody to say anything. So we have a duty at all times, whenever we see injustice anywhere, to raise our voices. That is how I understand Martin Luther King Jr. when he said, injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere, and we must be our brothers and sisters' keeper. That is what we must do. And I pray and hope that during your discussions, you will use the history that we have, the experiences that we have gathered over the years. Only one thing, peace. Easier said than done, but we must keep up the spirit, because history has demonstrated not once, not twice, but times without number, that is only in an environment of sustainable peace that human beings can achieve their endeavors. I wish you the very best in the knowledge that you are true warriors for peace. But always remember that even warriors have their moments of doubt and their moments of discouragement. But when that happens to you, you must always find the inner strength and the synergy to tell you the one message, that even gold only becomes gold after it has gone through the furnace of fire. The furnace of trials and tribulations is the lot of those who seek peace. God bless you and have a good session this afternoon and always.